the lectures, the supervisions, because it's not only the lectures, we also have like a final year project evaluation, and it has effect on the data collections that our students are doing. Even I'm not sure if you guys know about part of the job as an academician is also to conduct research, and right before the MCO was imposed, like my team and I, we were supposed to go and collect data for one of our research projects. So everything stops. That has definitely affect a lot of our plan, and this past 5-6 weeks has definitely took a 360-degree turn to us, and also the fact that like our students won't be able to see us. It has actually, it affects them, I guess. Some of them actually even ask me like, are we not going to see each other anymore? Because currently I am teaching the final year students. So I said, no, you won't be seeing me anymore. We'll be only seeing each other through technology.
That must be really hard for them as well, like a lot of uncertainties. Has that changed how you communicate with them, or change how you do your work with the university?
Well, see, UNIMAS, we've always been using technology. Even myself and my students, we've been using WhatsApp a lot to communicate with each other, other than the e-student. But back to your question just now on how it has affected me as a lecturer also, is that one of the courses that I am teaching this semester is project management. So project management is actually a service learning course where there's no examination. We have to go down to the ground and contribute something to the community. That has stops. So that makes my students sad, because they are really looking forward to work with the community. They have come out with the paperwork and all, and everything stops. So yeah,
So
there are a lot of things.
So if they can't go down to the ground, then what does that mean for their assessment, or what's the next step forward for them?
Okay, so what we're doing right now is that we'll be doing a e-community project now. So they have to come up with a project, still contributing to the community, but through digital. Yeah, since we can't go near anyone now because of the social distancing, and we cannot be in a group more than 5, I heard, in the future, very soon now. There is no way that they can go down to the ground. But I told them that, I'm not cruel. I'm not gonna say, no, I'm gonna fail you now because you didn't go down and talk to the community and stuff. No, but I think like I see this as a very good opportunity for us to take digitalization more seriously. And I was thinking to myself, like, actually UNIMAS has trained the lecturers earlier on, like since 2014. We've been doing a lot of assessment and lectures online, but we call it blended learning, you see, because we still have face-to-face lecture with our students, interaction with our students. But I guess right now, instead of doing halfway, we're going all out to do it online. And then UNIMAS, they are going all out. Even like today, they shared with us on the whatever tools that we can use to diversify how we're going to teach the student. It's not only about Facebook Live. It's not only about just this Zoom anymore. Like, they actually share with us a lot of other tools, and I'm learning about different sets of tools that will be suitable for the course that I'm teaching. Like, I'm teaching safety and health and project management. So these two courses, they have different learning outcomes. So I'll be using different tools to target my students. Yeah.
I see. And for yourself, you mentioned earlier that you also have to do research, right? So
yes,
that changed the way you are planning to collect data or do your research?
Yes, definitely. Because my research are very community centered. Uh, we're supposed to go down to the ground and talk to community. But I believe that, well, this would definitely change how we're going to conduct it, but it's not impossible. I am very optimistic about it. I will find another way to do it. And I'm still thinking of how to do, because there are 4 ongoing researches going on right now, but definitely going digital. We have no choice. And we'll be dealing with district officers. One of the project, we have to deal with district officers. So we'll discuss with him on how can we go about this, is there any way, I mean, how we're going to utilize the digital. I have yet to figure it out. But from where I see, I don't think things would go back to normal anytime soon. Based on the predictions of the expert, it could be in January 2022. So, so the amount of how to say, the durations of the project is only 3 years to 2 years. So I'll be missing out if I don't do something from now. But I see it as also another way of bridging the gap of digitalization, because that's actually one of the research that I'm doing as well. So from there, this is the situation. I mean, I will use it. I will use the situation to an advantage. Because I can see that a lot of people they complain a lot. They said that, oh, this is impossible, and they start to think of million reasons of not to do things. But I think we shouldn't be thinking that way. Nobody wants this. Nobody expected this to happen, and nobody wants it. Right? It's not something that people would want to happen. But then it is happening, and this is our life right now. So we have to view it very differently. And I was just telling my research teammates, and I said, we're not gonna give up. I said, if this happens, then there must be a reason for it, and we will try our best as a researcher to see things from a different view on how we can overcome this. I don't think that it should be like a stumbling block, where we stop ourselves from going forward just because this happens, and we can't do what we used to do. So it will be something new, and it's different. I don't know how effective it is, but it is going to be different. But yeah, it will be okay, I think.
Yeah, this is the new normal, as they say. While you sound very optimistic about this new normal. So I think you've heard we did a survey where we surveyed about 160 students in the whole of Malaysia, university students, and 91% of them has mentioned that their university are using virtual classes during MCO. So they're doing classes online and using online methods. However, only 25% of them say that they can learn better with online learning. Only 25% of them embrace this new online learning. What are your thoughts in general about virtual classes and the challenges that universities face?
I know, I can understand the challenges that they're facing, but what I can think of is probably definitely they feel distracted. I'm thinking, because it's the same for us too. When you try to teach at home and you have your kid running around and they wanting your attention, because they're not used to see you working from home, and that could be a distraction. I'm sure, like them being at home, even though they don't have kids, they will still have their family members, maybe internet connection.
Yeah.
And how I see it is that well, it's a universal problem, right? So because of that, UNIMAS has ventured into like a few methods that could well, they taught us not to be rigid, and they share with us a few tools that we can use to help, especially those who have internet connectivity issue. What I did personally, or what I'm going to do personally, is that to those people who has internet connection issue, but they can reach into certain time, or in a certain time. The difference between now and then is that how I would do it, I would still do live session, but I will make sure that it is pre-recorded. It is recorded, And instead of giving an impromptu task like how we would used to, how like when we're doing face-to-face interaction, usually we will give them, hey, we're gonna do some study group, or study group work or task, pair work and stuff. But we can't do that anymore because we have to take into consideration those who doesn't have the connectivity. So what I personally do is that I will allow them some time, okay, for them to rewatch it in any time they can. Then I will also take the initiative to download and compress the file so it is smaller for them, so that they can download in WhatsApp, because sometimes they can download through WhatsApp. So I make the initiative also to do a survey on my own student, those people that I teach, so that I want to know, because right now you're doing general, right? So you don't really know whether your students will fall under that category. So I did my own survey to my students because I want to know. So I told them to choose, okay, which one. Right? If you're going to use this platform, right? How is the strength of the connection there? So from their own survey that I did, I found out that they all prefer Facebook Live. So okay, we're gonna do Facebook Live. All right. So I said,
So
we will do that.
You have to go.
So again, it's about the lecturer themselves. You have to have the initiative, because I find that UNIMAS has already offered a lot of platform for us. And they give us the freedom to choose the tools that we can use, or that we find is more suitable for us. The good thing is about being an academician is that you have a choice to decide on which tool is more appropriate to be used in a certain situation, right? And then I think it's no longer practical for you to do your lecture for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and nobody's going to listen to you. So what I did was I've been looking through my lecture slide, and I compressed it into really short, comprehensive 15 minutes of slides. That's it. And then lots of case studies where they could think. I'm actually looking at OSH, not on project management, but on OSH.
How do you keep it interesting? Like, how do you make sure that your students are engaged? Like, how do you know that they are interested?
How do I know that they're interested? Well, they can fake that they're interested too. So you see, I can never know. But I guess if they really want to learn, that's human nature. I mean, I can't control things like that. I cannot say, Deborah, you gotta listen to me. You gotta focus. I can't do that. But what I can do as a lecturer is something. What I can control is myself. Like when I give a lecture, like I want to make sure that they can understand. Is that I would ask questions, and I will make sure that they ask some questions in the comments. And if they don't, I would also usually throw out questions, and I will ask this group to discuss among themselves. And if I see that it's not really working out, then I would throw some more questions just to spice things up. So that's what I do, and it works. They start talking. So I guess facilitating lah. As an academician, you cannot see yourself as a teacher. I'm not a teacher. We facilitate the learning process. So that's how I view myself. We're not like teaching A, B, C, memorize this. You gotta memorize this. We don't do that anymore. I think in this kind of in this industry right now, this 21st century, that's not how learning occurs anymore. It's about throwing something and let them think. That's where we're heading now. So you can see, like, even the exams that we have, from what I know is that I no longer develop questions where it requires them to memorize anymore. It's more on thinking skill, problem solving. Yeah, except for maths. But maths, we still have case study, but I'll be teaching that next semester. Having to learn how to teach that online. I've never tried that before, but I've also just found out there's a tool that will help us to teach maths. So I'm going to try that too next semester.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I continue, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please feel free to ask in the chat. Feel free to type out your questions if you have any burning questions to ask. Yeah. Speaking of virtual learning and getting your students to be interested and pay attention and all that, barriers in communication was the biggest reason in our survey, the biggest reason why students oppose virtual learning. Some said that they miss the interaction, and they say that pre-recorded lecturers have little interaction. So what do you think about that? How can that be improved?
How can they be improved? It's coming back to creativity of the lecturer themselves, you know. I think there is a lot of there's a lot of tools out there that the lecturer can use to how to say, attract learning. For example, one of the most recent research shows that gamification is one of the way to attract their attention. As simple as Kahoot, you know, that attracts their attention. I can't. I understand why some lecturers are not doing it. It is just a lot of work. It's a lot of work because we're not only lecturing. Lecturing is just like a quarter of what we're doing as an academician. So I can understand why it's difficult. It's a lot of energy that needs to be put in. Again, I think it also goes back to your responsibility as a student, right? I will not put all the blame to the lecturers or to the students. I guess it goes, you know, from both sides, you know. As a student, okay, I think it's your responsibility to try to communicate. Like a lot of times, even if it's a face-to-face interaction, I have to say that I have hardly met any Malaysian who would raise their hand to ask question. It is very rare. So I am not surprised that even if it's like in virtual a classroom, they feel like there is no communication. I think it's the same thing through face-to-face as well. But on the contrary, in my experience, I find that a lot of my students who are shy in the class, they tend to ask questions when it's being done online. So there is so not necessarily I'm not quite sure about their experience
in class they're usually quiet, and then suddenly online they're a different person.
Yeah. So if they were saying that they feel like there is no interaction in pre-recorded lectures, if you were to ask me how can they be improved, is that I guess the lecturers could throw in some questions like what I do, because I remember I did a pre-recorded video before, because I was out of the country and it was a different time zone. So it's impossible for me to wake up at this time just to give a lecture at this time, you know. So I did a pre-recorded session. And then after that, I come up with like a forum where they can talk, and open up a chat box where they can talk as well. So so that's also, I think, one of the way where you can improve it. And also, yeah, so the student need to do some pre-reading before the class to have some question. You know, in order for you to communicate, you've got to be asking question, right? So to ask question, other than just listening, you must do your own reading. So I think I feel like from my observation, reading is just not part of the culture anymore among university students nowadays. You don't see that even when they're doing their final year project. You don't see them doing so much reading. Like even when they're doing their research gap, you can tell already they're not doing very much reading. So again, probably different generation, different way of thinking. They want quick results, everything quick. But everybody have to change. I think in this setting now, the lecturers and the students both have to find a way on how which in what way would benefit them more, you know, in terms of during giving lecture. I take the suggestions from my students seriously, and I do ask them like how things are. I do ask them because I can understand some of them do not come from a wealthy family, so they could have problem with data. Like some of them told me that they only have one gig of data, the free
Free 1
1
gig.
gig data.
Yeah,
And I was like, alamak kesiannya. So I said, okay, we'll see how it is. Like, I will not penalize them. I think the lecturers need to understand that we cannot penalize them. That is something that they didn't want to happen, and they wish they have lots of data too, you know.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. Yeah, but so far from what I understand from my colleague, they are also pretty understanding. They're pretty understanding. And I guess they're all still trying to figure out different from my case right now, because I have done as a little survey on my own. So I get to identify what suits them more, you know, what will be best for us when we open up the semester in June later on. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned just now that you won't penalize students for not being able to watch your lectures, or perhaps unable to do assignments because of the internet connectivity, right? So
Oh,
how?
they still have to do the assignment, but before they go, some of them were returning home today, right? So I said, there will be assignment, okay? Because how am I supposed to access you without the assignment unless you want to? I don't know how we can. I said to them that you have to find a way to identify a spot where you are able to submit the assignment, and they agree. I said, it's okay, cannot watch my live session. I will take your attendance based on the views later on, I said. So that's how we communicate. Like, okay, you tell me a problem, right? And I will tell you what is expected. And you tell me again, if there is additional problem, then we discuss how can we go about it. But just because there's an issue, it doesn't mean that you have to just stop doing it. And I know I'm not going to do anything because it's just too hard. I don't believe in that. If you can find a way to message your girlfriend, when you are somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you will find a way to submit something to me. Even if it means you have to snap a photo, or if it's a group work, communicate with your friend, do not public phone or whatever, you're going to do that. And I think, yeah, you have to do it lah, because in the end of the day, you still have to be accessed, right? And they have to be fair to me too, because how am I going to assess you if you're not showing some effort? Like, I can be understanding, but it doesn't mean that
There's a
you
limit.
can. Yeah, I will see your effort lah.
Yeah.
I will see the effort. Like, I also can know. I can tell also if you're not doing enough effort. When you teach years like this, you can sort of like see lah the pattern of an attitude of certain students, and which one is genuine and which one is not. And there are cases where it's really, really genuinely memang special case. Okay, I have another solution for that, but I'm not gonna tell them, because if I tell them, they'll be like, oh, it's okay, you know what Dr. Flo said, if I cannot do this, he's just gonna give me another solution. Trust me, every lecturers have their own secret weapon. If this thing doesn't happen, they have another way of doing it. They're just not telling. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question here from Chu Teng. She
Okay.
asked, how is the assessment being done now in universities, and how are students responding to the new structure of assessments?
The assessment for the final exams are all going to be online. But it's just impossible for us to gather so many students in one hall to take final exam. So what we're going to do right now, from what I learned, is that of course it's going to be an open book, but the questions are more towards analytical, so case studies. Yeah. And then if it's like a final year project, a research project, then we're going to use online to evaluate their presentation. And if, for example, they do not have any internet connectivity or a strong internet connectivity, they can just record themselves and submit it through email or through WhatsApp to us. It's one of the way they can do it. Confirmation on the recording, I'm not quite sure yet. We haven't get there, but this is the possibility lah that I can see. That I even suggested that this could also be one of the way of doing it lah.
Have you experienced students who have no internet connectivity at all?
Yeah.
Then how do
But they said saya boleh cari dekat bukit, doktor. Okay. Dia cari bukit atas tree. I'm like, okay, sure, lambat sikit lah, but at least I can see he's trying lah, you know, rather than he's not. And I'm just grateful that he come and tell me rather than me assuming kan. So boleh faham lah, you know, I can understand. I as long as I know that you are trying, and we'll see lah. Probably I will come up with a little simpler assessment for specific people, for specific case. We would have to do that lah. So we cannot say that oh, this is how the assessment is. You know, I'm not going to change it. Now this is how it is. So we cannot be rigid, and we cannot afford to be rigid at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you mentioned as well that some assessments require collaboration with other students, right? Like group assessments and projects.
Yes.
So
yeah.
How does that work through virtual platforms? How? Yeah.
So in ELIP itself, we have a function there where it allowed the student to communicate. But in some cases, they usually use WhatsApp lah, and then they can submit their assignment through that link as well. And how do they go about it? Like, I think it's very simple. They discuss with each other through just WhatsApp. Very simple. It's quite straightforward. Nothing. But I found a tool where they can actually discuss through group. But my concern is internet connectivity. You know, I can. So I'm trying on my master students because most of them have strong connectivity, internet connection. So I'm trying on them, but I don't want to risk it on my undergraduate. Yeah.
Right.
You're not there yet. Yeah.
So what do you think? Like after this whole COVID thing is slowly over, do you think that it will change the future of assessments? Or the future?
Yeah. I think it's already changing. I don't think we're ever going to go back to full face-to-face anymore. That goes even for postgraduate. We're looking into remote supervision, cross-country supervision, global classroom, virtual mobility. Is something that we're looking into already.
Wow.
We have no idea when this is going to be really over. Now until the vaccine is found, you know, so we don't want to raise it. So I think it's a good thing that UNIMAS has already trained us. I mean, it's already been, we are already digitalizing a lot of things, you know, in UNIMAS. So it's not a shock, you know, it's not like, it's not an alien thing, you know. It's not something that, oh, we just learned about it yesterday, or no, I'm freaking out, what am I going to do? It's not like that. It's just that we've been doing it, but right now we're doing fully online. Yeah, so that's the difference. There is some questions there.
Yes.
I see.
There's a lot of questions coming up. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, Samuel asks, how do you build the trust and relationship with your students to the point they can discuss their challenges with you?
I talk to them, you know. I talk to them. I don't know how I do it. I guess that's probably just my character, I guess. From the start in the class, I've always shared with them my personal opinion on my personal experience, even in general as in life as itself, and I will give some inspirational or motivational quotes, and I feel like they need, you know. Sometimes I feel like certain lecturers, they go to class and they straight away talk about the topic. Like, it doesn't work like that, you know, because I can feel it for myself when I was a university student too. The lecturers come in and they start talking about the topic and be like, what? How do I start? How? And I end up falling asleep in front of the class. So I told myself, like, I'm never going to do that if I ever become a lecturer, and I became a lecturer. So in the class, right, I'm not saying, like, I'm actually quite strict also in the class, but I think they probably can feel it also. Like, I do care. Like, they can feel. Human, and rather than saying, oh, I care about you, like, they can see that you care about them. So I guess that's how it was built. The relationship that I have with my students, they will tell me. Sometimes I share with them some jokes. Yeah, it's good to laugh. And then you've made mistakes, and you don't be too prideful. That is what I learned over the years as well. every semester I try to like improve myself lah. Like you see the pattern, how they think and how they behave, and so you see, okay, this is how they are. All right, this is where I'm gonna hit them on the spot, like not spanking, but say something that they could just trigger their head. And sometimes they're lazy to think, and they need somebody to just like give them some like inspiration lah. I'm not saying that I'm inspiring them or what, but I do share a lot. We've all made a lot of mistakes, so from that mistakes, I guess it changes the way I view things, and I share with them, and I can understand also, like sometimes they have issues with their group members, issues with their family, and you can tell, in the class that they think it's because there's more than 100 of them and they think the lecturers cannot see, but I can see. I always tell them, I can see. If you correct Idong also, I can see from where I stand, and yeah. So I guess from there slowly lah, they open up, and even throughout this MCO, I would still give. I mean, I'm not giving them a lecture, but I would just text, give them something to think about, give them some questions, problem-solving questions, and ask what do they think about it psychologically, just
with them lah.
Just to remind them that I'm still around. With no lecture, but I'm still around.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into the next question. Chuteng asked again, have there been students who have not been responding at all, perhaps due to internet connectivity or any other challenges that they have?
Of course, they will always be the kind of student, but this kind of student, they won't respond in the group chat, but they will message you personally. They will sometimes message you personally. And there are also some who they're not comfortable, talking in a group chat, in a group where she or he would see it as strangers, and I can understand that, and they would prefer to talk to you personally. But there are some who just doesn't want to respond, but it doesn't mean like I will not take it like I will not be offended about it. I see it as okay, maybe he just doesn't know how to, and I've seen my student who were like that, and then when they graduated, and they will come to me and they said, "Oh, I remember how you were before, and thank you so much for all the things that you shared." But they have never said when they were still my student. They will say it after they graduate. So I've already seen a lot of people graduating, and I can see that pattern, and I'm like, okay. So I learned. At first, when I first started, I don't understand, and I would get annoyed. Then now, I guess I'm older and more experienced, so I learned to take it like more easily lah.
Yeah, another question from Schumacher Matau. Are the limitations of technology, example, lack of internet and electronic devices, going to be a big obstacle for rural communities, for rural community engagement, or are these rural communities going to be out of reach?
We are still figuring that out, but so far the students that we found out, there are certain students who knew that if they were to go back to their village, there will be absolutely zero connections, and they choose to stay in the campus, and we allowed that.
I see.
So yeah, we allowed that because I guess if they couldn't submit their assessment, there will still be an issue because how are we going to pass them? We have to have something, So I guess they figured out themselves lah, like, oh, okay, if I go back now and there's absolutely no internet connection, there's no way that I can submit my assignment, there's no way that I can do my final exam online. So they either choose to stay with their relative, or they choose to stay in the campus. Yeah,
so
because there's absolutely nothing we can do also if they go back to the village and they said there's no internet connectivity, right? So what can we do to help? I mean, I would, even if I want to wait, but the assessment date can't wait. So I'm not sure yet what would be the university tech. I think they are still trying to take one step at a time now. There's so many things going on, and we are trying our best to make sure that the welfare of our students are well taken care of. it would definitely affect the semesters. This is there I cannot say like, oh, everything is gonna be perfect. No, it will affect. Yeah, but yeah, from what I see from my students, those people who has that problem, they chose not to go back. They choose to stay in the campus.
So
Yeah.
even with recently the Prime Minister announced that students are allowed to go back, right? So some students still choose to stay.
Yes, we still have students who chose to stay. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because some of them are final year student, right? And
Mm.
this is their final semester, and they just want to get it done and out and done with. So I guess the younger one, they still have time to take the additional courses later on. Maybe they don't really mind. But I think for the final year students, some of them they opt to stay.
Right.
Yeah.
Another question from Samuel. Has this pandemic and MCO presented any opportunities that you see to explore? Since we always talk about challenges, so
Of course, it's a research opportunity for us. Yeah, right now we're coming up with myself coming up with 2 research papers on COVID-19 itself. Yeah, so now we even like one of these Scopus rated journal that we have in UNIMAS coming up with a special edition only on COVID-19. So we're contributing on our ideas and thoughts on this pandemic in the paper. So issue in July. Yeah. So there is always an opportunity in every crisis.
That's good news then, in terms of having new research journals coming out.
Yeah, mostly on psychological. There are people who are doing economic, but more psychological issue. Because I am also dealing with international students in UNIMAS. I'm also the deputy director for international relation in UNIMAS. So I deal a lot with the international students. Those people who can't go back to their countries because their country has locked down. The parents couldn't send money out. And UNIMAS are doing a lot. We provide food for them, dry food for them, and I myself update them every day on the current news, because sometimes it's in Bahasa, right, and they don't understand. So I took the initiative to translate it and share with them, and we come up with a lot of different posters and infographics so that they can understand. For those people who insisted they want to go back, we come up with a letter of support and try to help them to return to their country, and we help them from A to Z, preparing everything they can through the embassies, reach the airport, and making sure that everything goes well. So yeah, there's a lot of things.
Have any of them have any of them successfully gone back to their country?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Mostly like in Japan, Indonesia, Brunei. Yeah, they have no problem going back. But mostly on the Middle East side, they have problem. Because the countries are not opening the doors, the borders are not open, right? So that's the reason.
That's interesting. Yeah. I didn't know.
Yes.
That was happening as well. Wow.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, okay. I guess also.
I was just gonna read you the next question.
Oh yes, please. Yeah.
So we got a question from Shaza. She asks, how do you think online or virtual learning affects more practical-based subjects and courses? You mentioned that you were teaching a practical-based course, right? So but she mentioned here, like, for those who require practical lab work, i.e. science-based subjects, what are your thoughts?
Okay. We do have certain cases where they have to go down to the lab and do research, right? I think they will be given a special arrangement for those people who has no choice but to go down to the lab. Maybe a schedule so that and also making sure the physical arrangement of the lab fits the social distancing condition. But yeah, we are aware of that. So right now they're identifying the courses where there's absolutely no way of doing it online, and they have to make sure that the arrangement of the schedule is properly done. But yeah, they can go down lah. Yeah, but then I think 90% of the courses doesn't require us to go down to the lab. So there is so we don't have that much problem, because the goal here is to avoid crowd, you know, so avoid crowd, social distancing, and disinfection, and UNIMAS are aware of this, and they have a task force that has already come up with the SOP when the MCO is lifted. Who can come down, who should stay at work, and what type of students that can come down to do their work at the lab, you know, especially postgraduates who are doing some lab work, right? Yeah, so yeah, they are arranging that right now. They're coordinating lah, I guess, the
Do you still
faculties.
have to go down to the university?
Me? Oh, no, I don't.
I see.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I haven't stepped my foot in UNIMAS since end of February, so even before MCO. I was away, I was out of the country, and I come back and I had an operation, and I was in the hospital for a week. And then MCO come that I never get to go to UNIMAS.
When
But
you go
I
back,
work every day.
it looks different when you go back there next time.
Yeah, I'm just more afraid of the moles and the worm. Yeah, so far. No reason to, except for those essential. I do have like a staff that he will go down to do whatever that is needed, but not for myself and my director. We haven't gonna be, if it's risky because we have children, right? So we decided that okay, but we still work every day. The planning, the strategizing, the writing, we are still doing it. So actually, honestly, working from home is busier than working in the office, because
Facing some technical difficulties.
hello, sorry.
The connection.
Yeah, yeah. What is also, you see, internet connection is not only a problem with the students, also with the lecture.
The lecturers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I was saying that it's actually it's, people would think that, oh, you know what, lecturers, you can just stay at home, you know, but actually we're quite busy, still busy. We have meetings.
It's also a
Yeah.
challenge, I see.
Yeah. So we have another question, I see.
Yeah. Another question. The next question is from Gary. With the current challenges, is there a compromise in terms of assessment standards, and will this affect the quality of graduates coming out of universities?
Oh, I don't think so, because we have a specific department that controls the quality of our materials. And then you have, so for your information, the lecturers in UNIMAS, we have to undertake a postgraduate diploma called Teaching and Learning, PGD, in higher education, right? So we were already trained to come up with final exam in case if it's like case study or problem-based learning. So they have already trained us on how to come up with this kind of questions. So giving up case study actually is the best, you know. But honestly, students they don't like case study. They prefer if you give them a straight out question so that they can answer. But it will be harder for them. But better quality, definitely, because from there we can analyze how they really think and analyze things, and how they synthesize the whole case, you know, how they synthesize the problem, and propose solution, alternative, you know, to the issue. I'm actually looking forward to see how they're going to answer my question. You know, that will be interesting to see. I do not think that it will compromise the quality at all. If on the only thing that probably show is the standards that our students have. That is what's going to show, but not the standards of the exam itself, you know. Because you, when you are having an examination in a closed environment, like in the exam hall, right? And it's closed book, so they usually would be more lenient, no, in terms of marking their papers. But if it's like case study, it's an open answer, right? So from there, like, you can see what is the level of thinking there. And yeah, so that's something that I'm honestly looking forward to.
Would you say that that will set a precedent now, because after like in the future, the students that will in the following years, they will have to go through similar assessment, right? Because like this will be the new standard now. So would that continue, or will the standards resume back to previous with the exams?
So the standard has always been there. It's the marking, the marking that changes. Like we give them more how to say it, we're more lenient when we're doing it. I don't know about the other lecturers, but I feel like if it's like a case study, an open book case study, I would give them something more to think, because they probably have more time and they can refer to Google, they can refer to more things, to give them some idea on what's going on. But when it's a closed book examination and you're in a small hall, right, or in a large hall with your friends, then it's a different sets of feeling, I guess. So the examination has to be, we have to take into consideration the psychological state of the students, when we come up with exam papers. So obviously I cannot give them a questions where something they can type in Google, what are the criteria of blah blah blah, elaborate on the criteria or something. Google coming out with everything, right? So we won't be doing that. We're probably going to be asking something like, based in this case study, tell them a story and what are the things that you can synthesize, or based on these issues, or what would you propose, So it will be different now. We still ask that kind of questions, but usually we will give them a little bit of tips on how to answer. But that would change, I guess, right now, because we don't have control over, like, it's hard for you to say, okay, this examination is only from 8 to 11, let's say, for example, right? And I actually have been following a few of my like colleagues abroad, how they conduct. They don't even set like that 2-3 hours. They actually set 2 days, and they give 4 case study, so 2 days for you to think on how to solve it. Wow. I'm like, why so long? And he said, well, you got to give them time to think, on how to solve it. And he's already doing it to a first year student. Yeah. So, and we're talking about third year student. I'm sure they can do better. They should be able to do better. I mean, they're supposed to be smart, educated.
Supposed to be experienced.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you say that okay, next question is from Melissa, and she asks, is virtual delivery widening the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged groups?
Widening the gap, I think it will be an opportunity for the government to think of a way to do something lah. This would be a very good opportunity for the government to see what is really needed in the society. If this doesn't happen, then there is no trigger, there is no how to we call that, there is no pemangkin, to move the effort to breach the a catalyst. Yes, correct, Samuel. A catalyst to bridge the gap. So instead of looking at it as something that separates us, I would see that this is an opportunity for the government to bridge the underprivileged and the privileged students. Yeah, this is how I see it, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's also a good chance to see what are the issues actually, and it's all being laid out now in front of everybody, like who needs what the most. Yeah, yes. That's a very...
What is the basic needs? Yeah. So before this, like internet connection, people don't see it as a necessity, Yeah. They will see it as, kalau ada, kalau tak ada, right?
Yeah.
With this pandemic going on, it is a necessity. You need it because you want to check where you are, traveling, movement, everything is digitalized. So there is no...
Announcements from UCAS is also online.
Correct. Everything is online now, right? Nobody really watch TV1, TV2, TV3 anymore. They watch through Astro Awani, through Facebook, Yeah. A good internet speed will consider luxury.
That's true.
That would change. I honestly think that would change. I think that even the communication company, they would have to think of a way. I believe that is where our government is going, if not now, but soon. Yeah, on how to make sure that it is affordable for everyone, because people are going for everything, this, like Grab Food, Grab Mart, e-trading, everything right now. So there is no way they can say, you know what, things will go back to normal. We're not going to do this anymore. There's no way we're going back there.
Yeah.
Everything is going right now. So yeah, even though it is seen as a luxury now, it's going to be seen as a necessity, as much as we need food, because that's how we're going to connect to, even to the pharmacy outside. Like yesterday, I sprained my feet, and I was grateful that I feel I'm so grateful that there is Grab delivery to where I can just buy an ice bag from the pharmacy just opposite my apartment. So yeah, that's definitely going to change how things are. Yeah. So even if you think that it's a luxury now, in the future it would not be a luxury anymore.
The necessity already.
It would be a necessity.
Yeah.
It would take time, of course. Like, it would not be like tomorrow they're gonna give us 10 free gig of the
You never
internet.
know.
Yeah, I'm not saying it, but if they do, okay, that's good news for us, right? Yeah, but it's a text that we have to understand that when they want to come up with something, right, they have to do a lot of planning. Sometimes I feel like our society condemn too much and then too fast, and we need to, I think, being in the management myself, I can see that it is really not easy to make a certain decision, especially when it involves policy changing decision. You have to really think of, sometimes you have to think from bad to worse. So which one do you choose? So usually people think that you want to make decisions from good or bad, but sometimes it's from bad to worse. So which one? So it's very challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, it's our last 5 minutes of the session, so we're just gonna read the last two questions. Chuteng asked, so what happened to students who are taking courses which are lab-based? I was a biomedical student and I remember having to go to lab every day to run tests, especially for my final semester. Does MCO affect their studies or progress now? What is the university doing to support students who take practical-based subjects?
Like I explained just now, they are already thinking of the coordination for those students who have no choice but to come down to do their practical or lab work. So they won't. For now, what they do is that they already extended the semester for them, and then if there is a need, then they will be given more time to conduct their lab. And yeah, so I'm sure the university are thinking of many ways. Your concern is valid. It's also the concerns of many other lecturers as well. So I know for a fact that my own university is planning it properly. We cannot have 40 people in the lab. That's impossible. So I'm guessing maybe there's some kind of a scheduling that they would do, and or changing certain lab time to certain time, or additional hours of lab being open. So instead of 8 to 5, maybe they will open it longer so that more people can use in a different time. So I'm not quite sure yet. Nothing has been finalized yet. But so far, yes, they are taking this into consideration. We're not gonna let our students we're not gonna let them be. We're not gonna, how to say, see them failing or not being able to do what they're supposed to do, if it's not their fault, if it's not something that they can control. So we understand that, because it's human, right? we are human too, right? So we're not gonna be, we think about the students a lot. So which is, yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, last question for the day, because this session is supposed to be until 9:30. Is it okay if we run a little bit overtime
Yeah.
to answer this
Okay.
question. Okay,
Okay.
so the last question is, what have you learned from this pandemic regarding pedagogy and teaching and learning? And how will that affect higher education practices moving forward? Will we revert or keep the changes in the future?
We're already going towards IR 4.0, honestly. This is just again a catalyst to move us faster. But we're already going towards this. Even global classroom, I think I've been talking about this with my director since last year. Because you see, things will definitely change. Face to face, I would say, honestly, I think face to face doesn't, well, it can be half effective, but virtual also has its advantage. Probably we're going to find a way to blend these two in the future, I guess. After the MCO is lifted, or after we found the vaccines, or after we found a way on how to contain the virus. But yeah, definitely. Let me get back to the question again. Make sure that I answer it properly. Such a long question. Where is it? Or the pedagogy and teaching and learning. What have I learned? I learned that learning is the same. We have the pedagogy is still the same. It's only the tools that is different, you know. So, so I don't believe it when people say I cannot teach now because I don't see my students face to face, or there is no theories in pedagogy that says that, oh, that if you only get to meet virtually, meaning that, oh, there's no way that you can teach effectively. I don't think so, because right now there's a lot of teaching tools that will assist you in many ways to teach you. In the end of the day, it's not about the tools also, but it's about how you as an educator try to be more creative and innovative in making sure that the knowledge is transferred. Towards the end of the day, that's what education is about: knowledge transfer. And yeah, so we shouldn't have effect, but the will change the way we deliver things. But it's time for us in this era to be versatile, you know, and we cannot be rigid anymore. Like I was saying just now, like there is no room for us to be rigid. If we are rigid, then we'll be left behind. And so yeah, that's I hope I answered that question. Let me check that again. If I answer, yeah, you know lah, sometimes we always have to double check, kan? Yes, how will that affect higher education practices moving forward? We are already moving towards IR 4.0. Sarawak already moving towards IR 4.0. We're doing everything digitally. So so back to my answer just now. We are, this whole COVID-19 is just a catalyst for us to moving things faster. So whatever plans that we have that should be run in 2 to 3 years to come, we're doing it now. So that's it. Yeah. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so you've actually wrapped up the session very well, because that was also my last question.
Really?
Yeah, initially that was also my last question, so somebody read my mind. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time and taking the time to talk about the impact of COVID-19 and, you know, talking about the future and everything. And thank you so much everyone for coming. If you would like to